Here's something about asparagus that you may not know. Now, we're all used to eating asparagus in the spring when it starts to come up as tender young spears, and we harvest those when they're about, say, 8 to 10 inches tall. They're nice and tender, and we eat them that way. But the fern-like leaves of asparagus are actually edible too. As a matter of fact, this whole plant, even though it's mature and it's late summer, you could eat. I'm going to tell you, you probably don't want to. You know, the stalks at this point are pretty woody and tough. They're nothing like the young tender spears that we get in the spring. If you do have some spears coming up in the bottom later in the summer, you could take those. You may not want to, first of all, because you're robbing those from the crown of the plant, kind of why we stop harvesting in the late spring, early summer. And the reason for that is so that the plants can mature and they can grow up, feed that crown, and that sets the stage for next year. But the leaves, you can actually come and take some leaves. Now, you can see that through this asparagus patch, it's been a little bit windblown lately, but through this asparagus patch, there's plenty of these leaves in here. And these are actually edible. What you probably don't want to eat is this stem part itself. This gets pretty woody and chewy. If you're sauteing it, it may soften up enough that you don't mind it. But usually the way that asparagus leaves are eaten is to strip them from the plant, a little tough to do, and they come off looking kind of like dill leaves, sort of like you would do with a rosemary sprig. You would just strip them off, gather a bunch of them. Then you can use them as seasoning in all sorts of things: soups, roasted vegetables, sautés, stir fries, anything like that. So, you know, it's nice when you're kind of wishing you still had some asparagus left. It gives you a nice little bit of that flavor. It brings some new nuance to your sautés, your soups, your stews, your roasted vegetables, anything like that. So, you know, this is one more of those fun things to know, and another way to get a little bit more use out of your plants throughout the summer. And by the way, asparagus is not the only plant that has some of these extra kind of uses, like broccoli and brassicas and all sorts of other things. There are other parts of plants that we grow that we don't typically eat that have some good use to them too. And we do have an article on that if you check that out as well. But that's it for the asparagus. Just wanted to let you know, if you're looking for another unique kind of seasoning for your dishes, come down, take a little bit. You know, you're not going to strip all the leaves that you're damaging the plants or not allowing them to feed that root, but you wouldn't want to take, say, more than like 25 to 30% of the plant's leaves. That would be a lot to begin with on a plant this size. But as long as you're staying under that, you're going to be good to go without harming the plant. One final note: if you see red berries, you can see I've got a few forming here. Those you do not want to eat. They are mildly toxic. They probably are not really going to harm you per se in terms of, say, poisoning, but they are known to be pretty upsetting gastrically. So vomiting, diarrhea, nothing fun. Stay away from them. If you've never seen red berries in your asparagus, that's because most of what is sold now are the male plants, because they're bigger, they produce better, they're thicker spears when we do harvest them in the spring, and the females are the only ones that will actually form the berries. A lot of us, when we buy our crowns, are only buying male plants, so you probably would never see the berries if that's the case. Once in a while you'll get some, you know, whether one got mixed in or whatever, and I happen to have just a couple in here. So, you know, just a warning: stay away from the berries, but the leaves themselves are perfectly good to eat. I hope you have a great day gardening.